What if the biggest mystery in Outlander 1 that has been teased for years finally comes to light in Season 8? And what if Brianna is the only person who can unlock it? Today we're diving deep into the prophecy, the prequel, and every hidden thread that has been building toward one massive reveal. Let's begin, because the clues are everywhere, and the connections are far too big to ignore. For a long time, fans have been waiting for the complete truth behind Brianna's prophecy. It's one of the most puzzling and emotional mysteries in the entire series. And even though we've seen hints scattered throughout different seasons, the full meaning has never been confirmed. Now, with Season 8 on the horizon, the question everyone keeps asking is simple: will this be the moment when it all finally comes together? To understand what Season 8 might reveal, we have to go back to the prophecy itself, the one that shaped Gillis Duncan's obsession and pushed her to extreme lengths. According to the prophecy, a Scottish king would rise only after the death of a 2-year-old baby. Confusing at first, yes, but when you pair it with time travel, it suddenly becomes chillingly meaningful, because when Claire traveled forward in time while pregnant with Brianna, she aged Brianna's existence by 2 full centuries before delivering her. That small detail is one of the biggest reasons the prophecy is so tangled and why it has been hanging over the story like a shadow. Season 8 could be the moment when the show finally faces it head-on, but the prophecy isn't the only piece stirring up curiosity. The prequel, Outlander, Blood of My Blood, changed far more than people expected. It introduced new layers that now seem directly connected to the main timeline. And one of the biggest surprises was the relationship between Jamie's parents and Claire's parents, something the original story never deeply explored. Through 10 episodes, we watch Henry Beauchamp and Julia navigate danger, heartbreak, and impossible choices, all while fighting to be together. Their story ended with a victory, but a victory layered with unanswered questions and risks that follow them into whatever comes next. For example, even though Ellen and Brian are handfasted, they're not legally married yet. That detail alone threatens to pull both of their families into conflict. And Julia's past still lingers heavily, because she remains technically married to Lord Simon Lovett. Even as she reunites with Henry, the weight of that bond is still dangerous. As if that wasn't enough, the final shots of the prequel show flaming crosses lighting the Scottish hills, signaling the first sparks of the Jacobite uprising. It's a powerful reminder that danger is coming for everyone, and it paints a picture of tension and separation that Outlander fans know all too well. But perhaps the biggest cliffhanger in the prequel's finale is the fate of Henry, Julia, and baby William. They finally escape their captors and reach Craignaw Dun, but the question remains: can William travel through the stones? Time travel in Outlander has always followed its own rules. The ability is genetic, but not guaranteed. Some inherit it, some don't, and some only discover it under extreme circumstances. William's case is especially mysterious because Julia traveled through the stones while pregnant, technically exposing him to time travel before birth. But that still doesn't promise he can survive the jump. Henry and Julia originally planned to send one parent through with the baby while the other stayed behind. But when danger rushed in and Mr. Bug closed the distance, Henry grabbed Julia's hand and pressed it to the stone. Their fate and their child's was left suspended in a moment of pure uncertainty. One thing, however, is certain: Claire never grows up with her parents. That part of history cannot change. So if Henry and Julia survive the journey, it means they land in a different time period, one that keeps them away from young Claire forever. And if William doesn't make it through, Season 2 of the prequel may follow Henry and Julia's desperate attempt to find him across time. Meanwhile, Brian and Ellen face their own uncertain future. After being trapped and manipulated for most of the season, they finally break free. Their plan was simple: start fresh somewhere far from the chaos of their families. But the looming Jacobite rebellion makes that dream almost impossible. The clans are preparing for war, and even though we know how history ends, the characters don't, and that creates emotional tension that feels unmistakably Outlander. Brian will likely survive the early battles. Many familiar characters will too, but answering the call to arms could force him to cross paths with Lord Simon Lovett again. adding another layer of conflict to his already complicated life. Separation is a cornerstone of Outlander storytelling, and Brian and Ellen might soon experience it themselves. Then there's the issue of Malcolm Grant's death. Brian and Ellen are the only witnesses, and because Ellen missed Malcolm's wedding, most people will assume she had nothing to do with it. But Malcolm McKinnon Grant, Malcolm's uncle, is sharp, suspicious, and extremely dangerous. Once he realizes what happened, revenge is almost guaranteed. Even though alliances exist between the clans, tension simmers beneath the surface. And Malcolm McKinnon Grant is not the type to forgive quietly. All of this leads us straight back to the main question: how will these storylines shape Outlander Season 8? Prequels are often created to deepen the roots of a story, and Blood of My Blood adds emotional weight to Claire and Jamie's lives in ways we haven't yet seen. The survival of Henry and Julia and the possibility of a second child could reshape everything. It wouldn't feel complete for Claire's story to end without her learning the truth about her parents. And depending on when they arrive in the past or future, they could appear in a timeline that touches either the American Revolution or the early years before Claire first time traveled. There's even a subtle musical connection that many fans noticed. Julia sings "I Do Like to Be Beside the Seaside" to baby William in the prequel, the very same song Fanny Beardsley sings in Outlander Season 7. That moment sparked Claire's suspicion that Faith might have survived, tying the two stories together through a simple melody. It's a small detail, but it feels intentional, almost like a signal from the writers that these timelines are meant to collide. Season 8 might not reveal everything at once, especially since the prequel still has more to tell. But the main series will almost certainly start laying down hints, especially around the prophecy. For years, fans have wondered when the narrative would return to this forgotten puzzle. Gillis Duncan is gone, yes, but the prophecy hasn't vanished. And one character in particular seems likely to bring it back to life: Master Raymond. He has always been one of the most mysterious figures in the entire universe, appearing unexpectedly, guiding Claire, and influencing events from the shadows. It's easy to imagine that he has a deeper purpose, especially one tied to Brianna's fate and the Fraser family's destiny. His return could finally push the prophecy into the foreground, giving Season 8 the perfect setup for a long-awaited reveal. Time travel consequences ripple far beyond any single character. Henry and Julia's survival, William's unknown fate, the possibility of another Beauchamp child, and the unresolved questions around Faith all connect back to Brianna's prophecy. When you lay out the puzzle pieces, it becomes clear that Season 8 has the responsibility of bringing them together in a way that feels powerful and meaningful. And beyond the politics, the magic, and the historical upheaval, it's always Claire and Jamie's emotional journey that anchors the story. Whatever the truth behind the prophecy is, it will affect them on a deeply personal level. It will shape their understanding of their family, their place in time, and the decisions they've made along the way. Brianna's prophecy isn't just an old prediction, it's a lens that reflects choices, sacrifices, and destinies across generations. And that is where Outlander thrives, in the blend of emotional storytelling, historical stakes, and the unpredictable magic of time travel. Season 8 is poised to bring all these threads together, not just to answer the prophecy, but to honor everything the series has built over the years. Fans can expect dramatic shifts, emotional revelations, and the kind of meaningful closure the story has been leading toward. And that wraps up this deep dive into the mysteries waiting in Season 8. Stay curious, because every clue matters, and the biggest answers may be closer than we think.